Let's feed the morons, then we'll get down to business. Probably going to be a bit of a bird walk today. So, Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, when you dwell in booths, or at least when we dwell in booths. Not here to have a ideological, theological argument with you. We do this. If you do, Chag Sameach. If you don't, cool. More power to you. You have a First Amendment right to worship however you see fit in this country. So, or not at all. So you do you. But, begs the question, why are you throwing hay bales for your sheep in a hayfield? Because their hayfield has been eaten down, and I don't have the time right now, or it is not a priority for me right now to spend the time to move the electric fence for the sheep. Might do that later in the week, but right now, it's easier, it's a better use of my time to throw hay bales than to move the fence. Speaking of moving, we gotta water these buttholes. There we go. But hey. 2 years ago, $3 a bale, 50-pound bale. A year ago, $4.50 a bale, 50-pound bale. Now, $7 a bale, 40-pound bale. They're not 50-pounders. They're not even close. So shorter bales, 2 1/3 the price of 2 years ago. Why? Labor costs, input costs like fuel, and then drought, right? That's a thing. So a lot of people have asked, well, how are you going to feed these morons when the balloon goes up? Well, we have hay fields, and if I didn't have a stack of hay that I've been prepping for the winter, right, we would rotationally graze them, which we're already doing. It would be more of a priority to move the fence if I didn't have hay than right now. So I'm willing to burn a few bales this week to feed these dummies so that I don't have to spend the time to move them, right? But agricultural indicator, yeah, things are more expensive. And shrinkflation, hay bales are smaller. Let's see, Ukrainians are on an offensive in Kherson and the Kerch Strait Bridge. They blew up V-bed on, there's 2 roadways on the bridge. One of them was blown up and set on fire, and at least the initial reports were that the road surface on one of them was actually damaged, like dropped, so that you can't move vehicles across it. The other one, the Russians are saying they can still move tanks and planes and bombs and guns and trucks across. Okay, I guess we'll see, huh? Although, frankly, the last 48 hours I've not paid a lot of attention to what was going on there, what is going on there, because we've had other stuff on our mind. But that's important because Russia, most of their logistics are dependent upon rail, and so there's 2 roadways and a railway there on the Kerch Strait, and that's no longer passable, or at least it's questionably passable. So the Ukrainians are on the offensive, which suits NATO's needs, NATO's wants, because NATO basically wants to bleed the Russians dry in Ukraine so that they don't make it into actual Eastern Europe proper. You know, the Baltic regions, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, all of which are NATO allies or closely affiliated with NATO. So that seems to be going in NATO's direction. I think it's becoming undeniable at this point that the United States is involved, which everybody's known we're involved, man. We're giving intel support, material support, boots on the ground, hush hush, and we've had boots on the ground in Ukraine since years, almost a decade before the war started, but nobody talks about that. Don't talk about that. Just like the Wagner Group has been on the ground, boots on the ground for a decade, but nobody talks about that. So, nuclear holocaust, question mark, maybe. Kind of begs the question, if somebody's going to put a warhead on your forehead, A, do you live in the wrong location? Maybe it's time for you to actually strategically relocate. Or, cost-benefit analysis. Nah, I'd rather stay here where I am. Low probability of Russia putting a warhead on my forehead. I can get down with that. I understand. I get it. But it begs the question for me, like, how are you living in the meanwhile? Are you eating all of your fingernails, just waiting for Russia to put a warhead on your forehead, or are you going about your business? I don't know for you. It's an honest question. We're just going about our business. We're just continuing to do what we do, which, praise the Most High, has been an awesome amount of fellowship thus far. Shifting gears, people. And I'm fairly well caffeinated this morning, so if I'm talking fast and jumping around, you can blame Blackout Coffee Company. Thank you, Jared from Guns and Gadgets. When we were down in Florida doing recon for our upcoming grindstone deployment, we swung by LaBelle, Florida, and went and checked on the guys and girls at Blackout Coffee Company, because I know they had some damage as well. And while we were there, had an opportunity to meet the owners, hang out, tour the facility. It's a cool place, and they sent us on our merry way with some coffee in tow. So made some Blackout coffee over the fire this morning. I make no money telling you about that. I don't care. Good coffee. So if you're looking for some good coffee and you like supporting the Second Amendment, Blackout Coffee Co. Very good. This is the dark roast, and it's fabulous. Move the hose. Okay. But people, so there's this propensity in the preparedness community that even if you get to the point where you accept the idea that I have to have people, we tend to look at people as commodities for the performing of labor, whether that's security or gardening or row cropping or, fixing the tent with your embroidery needles or whatever, right? Who are you? What's your skill set? What can you do? Why are you here? What is your purpose? How are you going to contribute to the group? I think a lot of times what's missed is how's the group going to contribute to you? And I don't mean physically, monetarily. I mean the well-being of your soul. Do you love the people you're doing life with? Because I can honestly say I do. I do. Even if at times it's overwhelming, or it's like Bear has to retreat to his corner. I will be on the cot in my tent. Love y'all, bye. Right? Because right, everybody has a different amount of peopling that they're capable of doing. Some people they're social butterflies, man. They want to be around all the people, all the time, all day, all night, have all the conversations, do all the things. Other people are good for like an hour every other day, or a couple hours a month, right? And it doesn't mean those people that have a low level of peopling capability, maybe that's how we'll term that, doesn't mean that they're not as bought in as the people who are there all day, every day, all the time. It just means that they have a different makeup of their personality as to how much peopling they can actually perform before it becomes overwhelming for them. Even if it's overwhelming in the best way possible, it's still overwhelming for them. It's stimulus. It's a lot of stimulation Even if it's good stimulation, it can be overwhelming. Well, we've had a lot of really good stimulation lately, and one of the cool things about Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, is you get practice bugging out, using your gear, using your equipment, what works, what doesn't work. I think I like this tent. I think I like the sleeping pad. I'm pretty sure this is a good sleeping bag. This is going to be our cook system, blah, blah, blah. Well, go pressure test that stuff. Does it work or doesn't it work? If it doesn't work, wouldn't you rather find out on a nonchalant camping trip than when it's the end of the world as we know it, man? And what does your bug out system look like? The way we're set up is we can basically establish a base camp wherever the hell we want to, whenever the balloon goes up, however you define that. If we have to relocate from this place, our Shangri-La in the wilderness, right? What some would term your retreat location. But if there's a reason we have to leave here, whatever those bug out indicators would be for you, overwhelming force, natural disaster, a lack of resources, a lack of ability to perform commerce, drought, etc., weather events, then you got to go. We can't stay here. It's not tenable. It's not long-term sustainable for us to stay here. Cool. Where do we go? And what does that threat look like? Because if it's overwhelming force, if 3 towns away, China has paratrooped in, 12,000 dudes with machine guns, and there's, a light artillery regiment coming behind them, and they're moving this way, we're probably not going to stay here. How do you avoid martial law? Don't be where it is. How do you avoid World War III? Don't be where it is, right? And that, you're not going to stay and fight for your homeland with what, my toddler? Okay, here you go, sweetheart. Yeah, this is the DMR rifle, okay? It's got an absolute 0 out to 300. So what I want you to do, kiddo, is go ahead, rack the charging handle, get down behind the rifle, get a good cheek weld, all right? And from 0 to 300, and I know you have no idea, you think that a foot is this long, right? You have no idea of space or time or anything like that. But from 0 to 300, I want you to do a dead hold with the reticle, okay? And then after that, past about 300 to 500, you're gonna top hat this guy. Yeah, that's what I wanna do with my toddler, right? We're gonna fight the Chinese with my toddler. And while we're doing that, I'll probably get my wife to start shooting mortars over the ridge. Sounds good, right? In direct fire. Or we could relocate. And that's our decision versus your decision, right? If you're gonna stay and fight, cool, appreciate you. You stay and fight. Some of us are going to not become decisively engaged so that we can live to fight another day elsewhere. And that gets back to how big are you drawing your circles, right? Because my circle starts with me and the Most High, and then me and my wife, and then me, my wife, my kids, and then our community, and then our faith group, and then our township, right? And then our county, and then our state, and then our country. So it really begs the question of, is this your fight or not? Well, which circle is being affected by this fight, and do you actually have the ability to project force from your innermost circles to your outermost circles? And if you're all dicked up on the innermost circles, you got no horsepower for the outermost circles. This is just a fact. Or you've done the cost-benefit analysis and you're okay with losing the relationships that are represented by the innermost circles in order to go project force on the outermost circles. I'm not. I'm not going to lose my wife and kids to go out here and fight a war for a country that, let's face it, is basically Babylon at this point. But I digress. And now on the one hand, I can go, yeah, America is Babylon over here. And on the other hand, fully acknowledge that it is still the greatest country on the face of the earth. And perhaps in the midst of this controlled demolition by the World Economic Forum, if we can weather the storm that's represented by the coming collapse of the dollar and the digitization of our currency and, the slump of American manufacturing that we're in and all these other things that we got going on, if I can weather that storm and be strong centrally, if I can be strong centrally in my innermost circles, maybe then I can project force to my outermost circles. And what does that force look like? Because a lot of guys default to one of these. This is how we're gonna fight World War III, bear. Okay, well, is this the only tool you have in your toolkit? Is this all you have? All you have is a rifle? That's all you know how to use? Your voice box doesn't work. Your prayer box doesn't work. You haven't beseeched the Father for intercession. Your checkbook doesn't work. You don't have soft power. You can't exert influence. I'm not talking about coercion. I'm talking about influence. You can't run businesses righteously as an American manufacturer. You can't employ other people, create jobs. You can't do that. You can't make political moves at the local level which insulate you or serve to insulate you from adverse political moves at the national level, right? Like everybody wants to revert to force. By the time we get to force, we've failed so many other things that we have to rack our charging handles and flip safeties off. There has been a myriad, hundreds of failures in between normalcy now and racking a charging handle, getting a sight picture. But the Boogaloo boys and the wannabes and everybody else is like, yeah, well, we're going to take this country back with our rifles. Maybe. And on the other end of that spectrum, no, we're going to vote new people in that are going to fix it. Homie, they ain't going to fix shit. The system's broken, right? You keep throwing kittens into a meat grinder and being surprised when ground kitten comes out the other side. It's a meat grinder. Doesn't matter how cute the kitten is, you throw it into that system. What comes out the other end? A ground up kitten, right? The system's broken. I think we as Americans have become spoiled to the point that we deserve, you reap what you sow, right? We deserve, well, half a decade to a decade of economic hardship. To make us stout again, to put us back on our knees again, to focus on the things that we're supposed to be focused on again. God, family, country, right? Yeah, that's easy to say, it's much harder to do. I had a conversation with a brother yesterday. Had a lot of conversations with a lot of brothers yesterday, but one in particular was talking about it's easy to find somebody to die for you. It's much harder to find somebody who will live for you. That's fine. You wanna go die for your country? Mazel tov. And many people have in defense of this nation. And I mean no disrespect towards them. I'm talking about right now the SHTF combat arms guys, right? Like, oh yeah, when the balloon goes up, we're sling our rifles and get busy. All right, you do you, homie. Or that we got to take our country back, people. All right, you do you. Best of luck. When the Fed boys roll you up, righteously or unrighteously, never knew you, don't condone it. Enjoy your prison cell. You can go die for that. But can you live for that? Because it's so much easier to go out in a blaze of glory, right? Rack the charging handle, flip the safety off, and go to work. Go on. Squander the one life that you have, the one soul that you have for that. Some of us are going to be over here trying to live to put it back together again. How about living for your country? How about living for your wife? Living for your children? Living for your community? Living for your Creator? How about that? And being as strong as you possibly can so that you can help lift other people up out of poverty or depression or angst or sorrow. That's what we feel called to do. We're going to live this one out. And we're going to live it in the process. Not out of fear, not worried about if somebody's going to put a warhead on my forehead. I'm going to do life with people that I love. We're going to build businesses. We're going to rebuild American manufacturing to the best of our friggin' broken ability. We're going to do stuff that matters, not stuff that doesn't. We're going to be so damn strong in eastern Oklahoma that when a storm comes to your town and schwacks it, we can go help. I'm going to try and live my life so well vertically aligned that horizontal alignment with my brothers and sisters is just it's a non-issue. I want to be so good at hearing the voice of my Creator that even if He whispers the tiniest little word to me, I hear it and I listen to it and I'm obedient to it. Rather than charging up a hill into machine gun fire. Rule 1 of guerrilla warfare: do not become decisively engaged. And you are not the United States military, and neither am I. And even if you once were, you have the resources of Uncle Sam at your back at this point? I don't. Not interested. Don't want to play those games. I'm gonna feed these sheep. I'm gonna eat that rooster that I shot this morning. I'm gonna drink this coffee. I'm gonna finish these chores, finish this video, and go back to doing meaningful things with people that I love. I'm gonna live life, not squander it. And if I can live that life in such a righteous way that I have a net positive effect on everything and every person that comes in contact with me, not because I'm awesome, but because he's awesome, isn't that a win? This whole Make America Great Again thing, dude. Like, America was great because America was good. We've forgotten how to be good, and I think we need a little kick in the balls to remember again how to be good. I think we need to fall on our knees and put our face in the dirt and cry out to the maker of the universe and say, hey, I'm here, and I'm a busted up piece of shit, and I can't do this without you, but I would love it if you would join me in this walk here on earth so that I can be your hands and feet and do meaningful things to maybe restore myself, so that I could maybe begin the process of restoring these things that surround me. Like, what's your perspective? Where are you coming from? What are you actually doing in your life? All men die. Not all men truly live. Forgive me for the bird walk this morning. Y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.